Hi folks, we're going to take a look at page 225, number 7. So this is a question that's similar to a couple of your homework problems. So they're giving us this equation and they want us to find the value of the angle y. Okay, now they actually give us some hints, but let's see if we can figure out where we should be going here with a question like this. So the first thing I notice is I see that there's a cosine value, which is the negative of some sine value. Okay, so I really should be thinking about my correlated angle identities or my cofunction identities. Okay, so let's see how we can work this out. So here I notice that 13 pi over 18 is an angle in the second quadrant. Okay, so there we go, and I want to compare it to some other angle, okay, whose sine value is the negative of that cos value. So here we can compare it to this angle in the first quadrant, okay, and we know that if this is theta, okay, that's going to be theta, and the angle that we're looking for is going to be pi over 2 plus theta. Okay, in other words, our 13 pi over 18 needs to be equal to pi over 2 plus some other angle. And in fact, when we look at the hint that they give us, it tells us to first express 13 pi over 18 as pi over 2 plus theta. Okay, so see how we're able to figure that out without the hint. Okay, so let me start by doing that. Let's write 13 pi over 18 as pi over 2 plus some angle. So let's solve for what that angle theta is going to be. Okay, and so here we've got 13 pi over 18 minus pi over 2. So I'll write that here as 9 pi over 18, so I can do the subtraction easily. And so theta is equal to 13 minus 9, 4 pi over 18, or more simply 2 pi over 9. Okay, so now I can go back to my equation. So I've got my cosine of 13 pi over 18, which can now be rewritten as cos of pi over 2 plus the angle I just found, pi over 2 plus 2 pi over 9. Okay, and now I can use my correlated angle identity, where here the cosine of this angle will be the negative of the sine of that angle. So that's just negative sine of 2 pi over 9. But what did they tell us that cos of 13 pi over 18 was equal to? It's equal to negative sine y. And so here, this means that y must be equal to 2 pi over 9. Okay, so just a quick recap. Okay, now in these questions here, they do give you the hint on what to do. But the idea here is to realize that this was an angle in the second quadrant whose cosine value was the negative of a sine value of some other function here. So that's why we wanted to write this angle as pi over 2 plus an angle, so that we can then use our cofunction identity. Okay, that's it for this one.